Thank you. This meeting of the Akron Charter Review Commission is called to order. I will call the roll. Pedro Avalos.
Present.
John Blickel. I see him on the list. I don't hear him.
I'm here.
Okay,
I'm here.
thanks. Barbara Brown,
Here.
Donald Christian,
Here.
Rena Matar.
Here.
I'm here, Bill Rich, Jim Simon,
Present.
Margot Somerville,
Here.
and Matt Timbrook.
I'm here.
First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the June 16th commission meeting. Those minutes were distributed, and then I made some corrections and the revised minutes were distributed. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as redistributed?
Moved.
There's a second.
Second.
Are there any corrections anyone wishes to propose to the minutes? If not, all in favor of adopting the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The minutes are adopted without dissent. Next item is unfinished business. It's listed as the new proposed section, public records. Let's see. Is Tammy here?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you share that document?
Sure. Just 1 second. Can you see it?
Yes, thank you. So this is what would be the new charter section 141A, titled Disclosure of Use of Force Recordings. What it would do is to obligate the council to enact legislation dealing with the disclosure of portions of recordings made by body-worn cameras on police officers and dashboard-mounted cameras in police vehicles, although I understand those are not currently in use. If they were to come back in use, it would cover that too. The ordinance would leave it to council to create whatever exceptions it might wish to the law requiring, to the ordinance requiring the public disclosure, prompt public disclosure within a reasonable period of time of those recordings. So this ordinance, this charter amendment in itself wouldn't change the rules. It would be up to the council to enact an ordinance that would require public disclosure with whatever exceptions the council chooses to make. Been teaching constitutional law for too many years, and it would apply to recordings that only to recordings that document either the use of deadly force by a police officer against a person, or the use of force that is non-deadly force by a police officer that causes serious bodily injury to a person. So it wouldn't apply to uses of force that are non-deadly, that is, don't have the potential to cause death, and that didn't in fact cause serious bodily injury. The other condition under which the disclosure, the council would require the disclosure would be when it's permissible to disclose the recording under state and federal law. So that's a necessary condition for requiring the disclosures. It's got to be something that is permitted to be disclosed under state and federal law. The legislation is required to provide for enforcement in accordance with the procedures that are already contained in the Public Records Act. So it would obligate the city to disclose, not with or without a request, but the city, the only recourse if the city doesn't disclose would be for somebody to file a public records request and follow the procedures that are prescribed in the Public Records Act. And it sets a deadline for council to enact this legislation no later than June 30th
I'll
of
text you.
next year. Okay, so that is the proposed charter amendment. Is there discussion, questions, debate, etc.?
Chairman Riss, this is John Blickel.
Yes.
If this were to be enacted by the commission and then approved by council, can the commission mandate council to do something?
No, the people. This is a charter amendment, so the commission is really just recommending a charter amendment to the council. The council will decide whether to submit it to a vote of the people, right? If it doesn't wish to, pardon?
In its entirety, or can they selectively eliminate provisions?
They can change it. Yeah, they can change it. They can not submit it at all. They can submit it as is. It's up to the council. If they submit it or something like it to the voters, then it'll either pass or not in November. And if it passes, then if it passes in this form, the charter will be commanding the council to enact this legislation, and the charter can do that and does do that in quite a few other instances.
Are there any other provisions in the charter that mandates council enact legislation like this? Enact legislation, period.
Yes, yes. The one that comes to mind offhand is a provision that deals with campaign finance regulations, but there are others.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, discussion? Comments?
I guess let me weigh in, and this is more to the city of Akron. Do you have a position on this amendment? You have brought amendments to us over the past month and a half, and this is one that you did not bring to us. So I'm curious if you have a position, if you have to abstain from one way or the other, or just your thoughts. Thanks.
Alan, did you want to say anything in response to that?
Sure. I think I can say that this is not a proposal that came through, Mayor Horrigan. I don't think he's had an opportunity to fully review this proposal yet, so I wouldn't be comfortable saying that the mayor has a position on it. If that's kind of your question, I think that Bill worked with the law department, as did President Somerville, on the language, and I think that any legal concerns have been addressed. So I don't think there's any concerns about whether the charter could have a mandate like this. So, but as for a policy position, I don't think the mayor has had the opportunity to consider this specific proposal at this time.
So he does not outright oppose this amendment.
No, like I said, I don't think he's, I know he hasn't had a chance to review, this final language was just developed today. I think in general, the mayor has been supportive of transparency efforts that, would provide access to the public to, records that of the city. I think, the purpose of the body worn camera program was to provide a level of transparency and accountability. So in theory, I think that's something that the mayor would be supportive of, but I wouldn't feel comfortable speaking to the, precise, language in this amendment. But again, after the commission makes a decision on this, assuming something went to the council, I'm sure the mayor would weigh in at that point before it went to the voters.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions?
I'm sorry, I want to just clarify. I believe you stated, Ellen, that the law department is comfortable with the language as stated here.
I mean, I would defer to, I don't think Eve's on the call, I would defer to Yamini if Yamini, you want to speak to that. But I know there were some conversations that the law department and I had with Bill as the primary sponsor about, you know, some potential legal concerns. And I think all those have been addressed. So I do think that it's within, you know, the authority of the city or of the charter to have this kind of mandate, and the way that it's set forth would be, you know, legal. So.
And I would add that we did make some changes to accommodate some of the concerns that had been expressed by the law department.
So this is Steve Funk. I was asked to sort of look this over. You know, really the two concerns are addressed in paragraph 2 there. It does make it clear that if it's not permitted by federal or state law, then it would not be subject to disclosure. So the law department would need to review the video to make sure there isn't anything on there that would be prohibited from being disclosed. There are a number of things that potentially could violate privacy rights and things like that. And then the second thing was just concerned about how this would be enforced. And that section about the Public Records Act was intended to address that. We didn't really want to have different kinds of ways in which this could be enforced that don't already exist under existing law.
Just to be clear, the permissibility of the disclosure under state and federal law was in my original proposal.
Right. So, I mean, if it would be helpful for anyone on this call who's not intimately familiar with public records, there are certain exceptions or exemptions to release of public records that are discretionary, meaning that the city can, under certain circumstances, waive those exceptions or assert those exceptions. And then there are others that are considered mandatory, meaning that the city would be in violation of state or federal law if they did release a certain record that showed a certain thing, like, say, someone's social security number, or, currently under state law, a nude body or something. So we would be required to still, redact records to ensure that those items were not disclosed that are prohibited from being disclosed under state or federal law.
I believe Margot Somerville has something she'd like to say. You there, Margot?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute. I do apologize. Thank you so much. I just wanted to speak in favor of this piece. Again, it's no secret what's happening, not only just across the country, but also what's happening here in Akron. We've had many protests and riots, and as president of city council, trying to figure out how we can better build a better relationship between community and police. How can we, the city of Akron, be transparent? How can we make sure that we are holding our police force accountable? I think this is truly the way in which we do that. This is a great first step. And if we truly want to be transparent, releasing footage from the body cam is the way to do it. I heard many conversations about, people, if they want to see body cam footage, they should make a public records request. The problem is the average person does not know how to make a public records request. So again, I think if we come out front, we put the video out saying we have nothing to hide, here's the video, and we're going to go through the necessary processes and steps to investigate, that's a good move on the city of Akron. And I think that's a good initiative to us to really, truly moving forward to being transparent and being accountable. Before I got on this call, I did have an opportunity to speak with Mayor Horrigan, who understands exactly what this piece is intended to do. Now, whether or not he totally agrees with the process, he understands the intent behind it. So again, I stand in full support of this. I think this is the direction that we need to move in. I think this is at least an opportunity that we should put it on the ballot and allow the residents of Akron to truly decide, is this important to them or not?
Are there other comments or questions from the members? I do have a letter that was forwarded to me from Reverend Gregory Harrison that I would like to read, but I can hold off if there are people who have other comments or questions.
Oh,
Okay. Reverend Harrison writes, my name is Reverend Gregory Harrison. I'm a lifelong resident of Akron. I'm sending this letter in support of the charter amendment giving Akron City Council the task and responsibility to create, review, update, and amend the policies concerning Akron police and body-worn cameras. As we enter this new call for police reform, this charter amendment is timely and necessary. As a resident of Akron, I've voiced my concerns and any neighborhood problems to my ward council person, with an expectation that my voice will be heard by all members of council. Giving council the authority and responsibility to oversee this particular policy will ensure that my voice, as well as many other voices, will be heard and acted upon in a timely manner. Historically, our voices have not been heard and previous calls for police reform have not happened. This amendment to the charter would allow we the people, in quotes, the opportunity to take our concerns directly to the governing body with legislative authority to act on our concerns. Because a 7-vote majority of council is necessary to pass any type of legislation, the risk of council abusing their legislative authority is minimal. True reform and police oversight becomes a reality when there are safeguards and transparencies. I would ask this committee to advance this change as part of your recommendations. It's signed Reverend Gregory B. Harrison, pastor at Antioch Baptist Church. I don't know whether this is the only comment that I've received in writing. I don't know whether anyone else has.
I have a comment. Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me just say that with respect to electronic recordings, I think there's some assumption in the narrative that the way body cameras, they are recorded devices. They don't have any skin in the race either side. Capture whatever occurred. That could very well document something that's potentially unlawful. It could also exonerate anyone from any false accusations, rumors, or whatever about what may have occurred. So it cuts both ways. So I don't see any reason why there should be that much concern about this, as long as it complies with all the applicable and policies or whatever.
Donnie, your voice is cutting in and out. I wonder if you might be able to get closer to the microphone.
Can you hear me now?
No, not so well.
Quite simply is video cameras cut both ways. So the other dog in the race.
Now it's gotten worse. I'm sorry I made that suggestion.
Donald, you're on here twice. Did you have a phone or something you could talk into?
Yeah, if not, try calling in from a landline. I can message you the number if you need.
He seemed to have lost his voice completely. Well, I think we'll have to, while we're waiting to see whether he can get back in touch with us. Are there other people who wish to make comments on the commission? If not, and while we couldn't hear all of what Donnie was saying, I think it was clear he's in support of the proposal. I hesitate to go ahead with a vote without him. Let's see. I'm looking now to see, can we still see him? Yes, but it looks like he's frozen.
Oh, I see him twice, which is very.
Yeah, yeah, he was logged in twice from the beginning.
If Donald, if you wanted to type, I know this is not ideal, but if you wanted to type a comment or a question, I'm sure one of us would be willing to vocalize it on your behalf.
Yeah.
Also, I did put the call-in information into the chat. If you want to try calling from a cell phone or a landline, that might get you in here a little easier.
You know,
Wait, we just heard something.
hear me now?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I just had a short comment. If you can hear me at all, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. We can hear you pretty well now.
I just wanted to comment that electronic recordings do not have a dog in this race. Those machines just record exactly. There may be some thought they only record wrongdoing. Exonerating anyone from rumors or false accusations. I don't understand any pushback. The machine itself just records whatever is going on. Recording does not take.
It faded out again. But I think I got the point enough to be able to restate it, which is that the body-worn cameras are neutral. They're objective. They just record whatever is taking place in front of, and in the case of sound, around now I'm hearing a dial tone, and they can exonerate as well as incriminate, and I think the larger point was the point about transparency, if I understood correctly. Yes, I can see from the thumbs up that I got it. Are there any other commission members that wish to speak on this subject? If not, I take it you're ready to vote. I think, Tammy, if you could stop sharing so I can see everybody, that'd make it easier. Thank you. Okay, I will call the roll. Pedro Avalos. This is on the motion. This is on the motion to approve this charter amendment that we've just been discussing.
Okay. I vote in favor.
Okay. John Blickel.
In favor.
Barbara Brown. I'm sorry, if you voted, I didn't quite hear it.
In favor. Approve, I approve. You're asking to approve, I approve.
I'm not able to make out what you're saying because of the sound distortion that's occurring. Okay, I got it. Sorry about that. Donnie Christian. Raina Matar.
In favor.
I vote in favor. Jim Simon.
In favor.
Margot Somerville.
In favor.
Matt Timbrook.
In favor.
All right. So the vote is unanimously in favor of recommending that charter amendment. We can now proceed to new business. The item that we have under new business is public hearing, but there was nobody who contacted us as required who expressed a wish to speak to the commission about a charter amendment related matter. There was one person who expressed desire to speak to us, but it was about things that had no discernible connection to the charter. And so I believe that she was referred to City Council. And there was one other comment. I think these were sent to everybody, but there was one other comment that someone who didn't express a desire to speak to the commission. So we have no public comments at this point. And this is the only relevant point, so we have no public comments. Does anyone wish to bring anything up for the good of the order? I should add that we will need to, by we, I think I mean the vice chair and I, Jim and I, will need to work with the law department on the steps to be taken to prepare a report to submit to the City Council that will present all of the recommendations of the Charter Review Commission. So we will do that shortly. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to say? If not, I expect that this is our last meeting. We've accomplished the work that we set out to do. I want to express my great appreciation for all the work that the members of the commission and the folks in the law department put into this effort. I think I'm proud to be associated with all the members of this commission and the work that we've done together. And I think I look forward to presenting this work to the Akron City Council and I just thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you.
If there's nothing further and without objection, we are adjourned.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.